follow-up and then a closing statement. Again, thank you for being here. You said something I'm trying to square. First, in context, we know that only about 1/5 of NIH applications are funded, and you have spoken about improving that, particularly for younger investigators, which, by the way, I think your plan, just on the face of it, looks fantastic. So thank you for thinking creatively about that. And you've also, I think, correctly said we need to be putting more money into cutting-edge research, which may fail. It's cutting edge, right? But what's the alternative? But what I don't. So what I'm trying to square with that is the extra dollars for validation. With all the kind of caveats you put, you'd have to have the full cooperation of the person who studies being validated, and you'd have to have the same circumstances and the same genetic makeup and the same this and that and that and this. So it seems like the validation push would put more pressure on both the cutting edge research priority and the young investigators find it easier to get money. So knowing that you've thought about that, how do you think about that?
Senator, I think of that validation work as central to doing good science. Like any portfolio that doesn't have that kind of validation built into it is not going to be reliable. So even if you do cutting edge research and it's not validated, you're not going to get the advances.
So what is the difference between doing the validation research and kind of what you have criticized, that we sometimes do the same thing over and over again?
Well, the difference is that validation research is focused on the particular results that a scientist may have. You know, I publish a study and you check my results. You get the same result as me. Incremental science is you propose a study that is like epsilon away from what already is known, and you do that.
Now, inherently, if epsilon away fails, it calls into question the original premise, correct?
Right, but it's much easier to be certain that about research that's epsilon away from the frontier to work versus like big ideas in different directions that might make big advances. Any research portfolio has to have lots of different approaches to this. I think the key to me is making sure that if early career researchers with non-traditional ideas about hypotheses, for instance, like with the example of Alzheimer's we already talked about, those get support that are in the portfolio. Some of those won't fail, and some of those will succeed. And the ones that succeed can make big advances. I don't think that the validation is just a check. Is the research that I did, do you find the same thing? That tends not to get support in the scientific community. And I think that's a mistake. The scientific community ought to support that. The NIH ought to support that. That way, the entire research portfolio as a whole becomes more reliable because we know that it's been validated by independent teams.
I don't object to the validation research. It does seem that it's going to be a tension, so I'll look forward to you resolving that.
Senator, I look forward to working with you on this.
That'll be great. Let me just then conclude. The issue of autism just is one of those things that we all think about. I want to note that last year Congress reauthorized the Autism Cares Act, and Senator Collins and the HELP Committee were those that did that, and the law coordinates the federal autism research and is implemented by NIH. And so I look forward to working with you on that. But one thing that continues to concern me as I've listened to this conversation, there's an opportunity cost. If we continue to plow the barren ground of something which has already been validated multiple times, that there is not a connection between vaccination and autism, we don't have the money to go after the real thing. And you said something which just bing, 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 I just thought was so good, that you have a faith that a well-done research that provides answers will be convincing to people. Well, we've already had that for the vaccination. What we need is the well-done research finding the true reason for autism, and that's what the hope is for the people with autism. And if we're pissing away money over here, that's that less money that we have to actually go after the true reason. You're an economist as well as an MD. You know this. And so I look forward to, the opportunity cost of wasting money on one more thing that's been proven exhaustively, denying the opportunity to find the real reason would be a tragedy for everyone who has to deal with autism, which is all of us.
Senator, I share that that passion that you have for finding the real the cause of the increase. That's where the vast majority of effort ought to go. We want answers. Parents want answers. Their kids are suffering, and the NIH ought to be doing the research that provides those answers. That's the most important thing.
Yes. Well, thank you again for being here. I admire your sons for being so well behaved. I'm sure the presence of their mother right next to them had some influence over that. This concludes our hearing. For any senators who wish to ask additional questions for the record will be due tomorrow at 5 p.m. We're through.